Bonjour, dear friends. Welcome, Joe Papendick, amazing, fabulous visual artist of the garden. He's the man, ladies and gentlemen, who are making anything happen. And spring is coming thanks to his excitement and his calling for the perfect weather. So today, spring in your step, and we will be creating the perfect, most fabulous bouquet. So Joe, tell us all about what's happening here where we are.
Yes, spring is here, coming in a few days, and we are very excited to see the garden just explode with blooms. We'll have a number of flowers you can see in front of us. Wonderful tulip, definitely a symbol of beauty, of love. To me, it's just a dramatic force of color, and one of my favorite, one of definitely the most popular flowers. A hard flower to grow in California in our location. This took a lot of planning. Back in October, we put this in the freezer, not the freezer, in the refrigerator to get it cold enough. This wants to grow in France, where it's colder in the winter time, and here in California it's a little too mild, so we had to keep it chilled for a longer period of time. And now that it's been warming up, spring is here. Our day length is getting up to be 12 hours a day. These blossoms are pushing up, and we're ready to pick a few to make our bouquet.
So we're going to start a beautiful bouquet, but Joe, as I'm going to cut with my wonderful, fabulous shears, I'm going to start the bouquet. But Joe, you should tell us about what this wine makes you feel as the man creating this beautiful garden.
This is the Delos Chardonnay Heritage Reserve, and it is a wonderful wine for the garden. The crisp, light, spring flavor comes out. I definitely enjoy it after a hard day working in the garden. It's something that is refreshing and goes so well with a hard day of gardening work.
And dear friends, I'm not cutting in line, of course, because I don't want to take away the beautiful quadrillage, as we call it, the beautiful parterre, the typical Le Nôtre term of the Versailles garden that Joe has created. This is a hint to our lovely friends in Holland, the kings and queens of the tulips. But you could see how beautiful the tulips are, and we're going to build a nice bouquet. And I recommend for all of you to get tulips, either the florist and obviously plant them, even a single one in your house with a big bulb. You know, they look amazing. And really, they go vertical, they could go as a beautiful spread. You know, you don't need too many, but you could see how the start of our bouquet is. So Joe, I suggest we now discover the next little stop in the garden. But to all of you, I hope you share with us our favorite season is really spring, because everything comes out. The birds are singing, I'm sure you can hear them, and nature is welcoming us to witness the beautiful, growth that has happened under us. Remember, below us, what is important is what happens with the roots, and now it all comes out. So it's a coloriage of beautiful colors, and it's a parterre of beauty. So not only look up, but as well look down to what Mother Nature has to offer. So let's go to which area now?
We'll walk along the path and we'll find ourselves some narcissus, or the daffodil.
Ooh, daffodil and narcissus. Come along. We had to go close to the root. We're living on a root day today, waxing moon, in between two nods. Quite an unusual time in the botanic calendar, and a perfect time to actually continue this beautiful bouquet of flowers. When you think of spring, yellow, green, orange, beautiful fresh whites, this is what you want to compose your beautiful living room, maybe your dining room, your kitchen. So as we walk down the path, Joe had this beautiful cluster, and they look marvelous. Tell us more about this irresistible plant, which is really in the shape of the flower of life.
Definitely. The narcissus here, this is the daffodil in the narcissus family. is a wonderful springtime flower. Pops up, naturalizes, so it begins to take root here in California very well. It doesn't need to be chilled, doesn't need much care. You can see it's beginning to spread. So we're having ones here, and then it's sending off additional bulbs for next year and the years in the futures to come. So eventually in 5-10 years, we'll have a nice mass of daffodils here. And daffodil, well, Narcissus, remember Narcissus became mesmerized by his reflection looking into the pond.
The pond.
The water.
Because we used to look at a pond as a mirror. You know, in the old days, we didn't have the mirror pre-16th century. So, you know, human beings as well as plants used to look at themselves from the water, reflecting from the light. And this is why it's called Narcissus.
Narcissus. It always hangs down. The flower hangs and is looking at its reflection down below. For me, it's also the yellow bringing of spring as a symbol of hope. This is the time of, we're in that transition of the days getting longer. We're moving out of rain, moving out of snow. In most cases, the narcissus will be bursting through areas that still have snow on the ground. And here in California, when we get a nice rainstorm, they still hold up. The water hits it, runs off of them, and doesn't damage the petal the way a tulip, a heavy rainstorm, and all the petals fall off and they can be damaged. They're rather delicate. The daffodil narcissus hold up to storms, hold up to wind. They can be moved around. Really a wonderful flower, and one thing that always symbolizes for me that beginning of spring and that the season is getting longer, and here we're into that wonderful moment of summer.
And as an advice, they keep coming back.
They do.
So you don't need to reseed them every year. You know, strategically, you can really compose the colors of your garden, the colors of a specific areas in the garden, which we've done in many of our properties. And when you see them popping up, that's the sign of spring. And that's exciting, as Joe said. For me, it's hope, it's dreams, it's nature, it's wanting to embrace nature after the cold winter we've had and the great rain we've had. So always that beautiful structure, 6 petals and the pistil in the middle is really beautiful. Attracts the bees as well.
Correct, yes.
Which is very nice. So what are they really looking for here?
What are the bees looking for? Well, the same thing that we're looking for. It's just the beauty. You see that yellow, it just brings you in. You look at the garden, and as we did, we were drawn like a magnet to it. There's also a delicate fragrance. Some daffodils are fragrant, some are not, depending upon...
Those are great. Smell this one. Oh,
yes, this is...
The honey. I would be a bee. I would want to come and literally leak that nice little pistil and take it back to the hive.
Yes, definitely.
Gorgeous. So, do they turn with the sun or not
a little
necessarily?
bit. No, yes, they will. We'll see them. Right now we're in the middle of the day and they're straight up, and they will begin to move into the facing west as the sun sets. After they fade, it's very important in order for the success for them to come back next year to let their leaves stay. Their leaves will still need to photosynthesize and bring that energy down to the bulb. If I was to cut these all off and leave them without their leaves, those bulbs wouldn't have the energy to be able to reproduce and then be able to store all the carbohydrates they need to make it through summer and last till next spring.
Yeah. So look at the complement it does. I personally always do bouquet with odd numbers of flowers. So 3, 5, 7, 9s, and always compose it that way. So it creates a beautiful, uneven structure. We gotta keep adding to our bouquet, but you could see in the spring, you could still imagine starting the season and really jumping into that freshness that you bring into your house thanks to those gorgeous flowers. What a beautiful leaf as well, isn't it?
You can use it to tie the bouquet too.
That's right. Here we go.
A little ribbon.
Beautiful.
Nice.
So now that we've bending next to the beautiful goats, enchant us of their beauty and contribution to the ecosystem. So now, Joe, we've enjoyed the narcisse. Shall we go to the next?
Yes,
what do you recommend?
Well, we have pink, red, yellow. We can look for a darker color to help complement that. You're saying odds. Let's take a little walk and see what we find.
Another toast after picking. So we didn't have too far to go. On the other side of the goat, purposely Joe has planted the rosemary so that the goat get enchanted with that beautiful smell that reminds them Central California, that reminds them the south of France, because some of those goats are French. So they have that rosemary feel, and they look so beautiful, and they have multiple use.
Yes. Yeah, the rosemary I feel is a really wonderful plant for all gardens. Here we're keeping it clipped as a hedge to help define between path and between the herb garden. Of course, it's great for all of our seasoning a chicken, seasoning herbal dishes, putting in with like a white bean stew, add a little bit of rosemary in there as it's stewing and add that different aromas. But it also has a wonderful flower, a flower that, like the herb, is edible, so you can go ahead and pull that off and eat the flowers, add those to a garnish, just to get a little bit of the minty, seasonal, piney rosemary flavor. And the bees love rosemary as well. As we walked over here, a bunch flew away, but in these nice clusters. And it is another winter, spring flower that is really essential, doesn't need much water, very well adapted to California and to the south of France, the Mediterranean climate. And to me, it's a kind of an essential part of our garden ecosystem.
If you love grilling, which I know we all do, and now the sun is out, you can think already about the beautiful smoke of your lamb on the grill. So my recommendation, lamb and rosemary, is kind of the Greek, Roman, French dream. Just pepper, salt, rosemary, both sides, and you eat your chop with your hand in the landscape. This is a dream. With maybe, in this instance, if it's the lamb, maybe we'll go with the Delos Heritage Reserve Pinot. But this is a beautiful way to use the rosemary. And here, look,
yes,
you know, the
bouquet.
bouquet.
It adds to hold up. The green contrasts with the yellow and with the pink to really allow for the colors to be highlighted and come out. And then if you put this in the vase, the daffodils won't fluff over, wanting to look at their reflection, but the rosemary will help us support them.
And you have something to talk about, because what is important in a bouquet is beauty and the meaning of beauty and the complementarity of beauty, from colors to meanings of where they come from, the reflection of the narcisse to the water, hence the orientation, as you learn, the tulip and the heritage in Central Europe of Holland, and obviously the rosemary, which has two functions. And if you leave that in your dining room table, you're going to be, you know, appetite with the beautiful flavor. So that with a great wine, Joe, we are living the dreams. One more flower for the bouquet.
Okay.
Let's keep walking.
Excellent. Hello, welcome. Looks like you need a little refill.
Oh, always. Walking the garden with Joe is very dehydrating. And the beauty is the heat is coming. God, what a great temperature for, you know, the 18th of March. In 2 days, this is the official day of spring. And I have the feeling we've already started.
It looks like it and it feels like it.
This is such a beautiful stop. I mean, Joe, engage us on this gorgeous complementary color. You see, we're gonna make a gorgeous bouquet with white, add it to the mix, white with little tones of pink and purple.
Yeah, this is our Daikon Radish that we're using as a cover crop in this bed. The Daikon Radish, of course, has that very long root, goes down, it's going to open the soil, and it's going to help to aerate as it decomposes. But for right now, we're looking at flowers and bouquets, a beautiful 4-petal cross, the crucifer family. It attracts honeybees and pollinators, again, as well as is edible. You can go ahead and nibble this and add this to your salad. Really a wonderful flower, a wild flower. Unfortunately, it won't last that long in the bouquet. These petals are delicate and they tend to fall off, but it really comes together in a very nice highlight and adds that kind of wispy feel. With the bouquet, we want to add layers. And so we have that core of the bulbs, the tulip and the daffodil, and we have the structure of the rosemary, and now we have this lifting, reaching towards the sky, whimsical element of the radish.
I can even cut it with my finger here.
This one is tender, yeah, you can just break them off.
And in a salad, you said, so I can eat
You
it.
can eat this, yes. Has a little bit of a peppery flavor,
Great flavor.
like the radish does when you cut it on the plate, with a little bit of salt and a little bit of butter.
And it adds a little romance, and I love what you said. In a bouquet, I think you want to play with heights. You know, you kindly said it, Joe, so well, it adds altitude to it.
Correct.
You know, it adds a dimension. You see how beautiful it is? I mean, we just walked around and composed what we thought would be a great compliment. And can you imagine if we put it on the dining room table, we add a few of those to decorate the salad?
Yes. And it ties
And-
everything together. You have your bouquet, you have your meal. Definitely not the tulips or the daffodils. Those are poisonous. So be cautious about those. But the other element here of having that moment in time, we're coming together, we're able to walk through, this is spring, celebrating spring together in a bouquet.
A step in spring. And Joe, anything else health benefit wise from this plant?
Health benefit for us, well, radish are nutritious. They do bring in, eating something fresh from the garden, as always, helps for that roughage, for the ability to gain all those different micronutrients in your diet. And they grow quickly. Radish will grow within 35 to 50 days before you're ready to harvest. So I like to use them often in quick rotations between large crops. If I have a moment when the broccoli is coming out and then I'm ready to plant the tomatoes, but it's not warm enough yet, radish does well in cool weather, and so you can put in a little bit of radish.
So you see what I'm doing as well. I'm using the radish to tie the bouquet. So now it's nicely tight. You see we have it ready to be anchored into the vase. So Joe, thank you so much for this beautiful discovery
Welcome.
of spring. Dear friends, take time to walk in the garden. Spring is a new season. It's maybe a new world order, as now we're phasing out this time we've lived indoors. It's time to come outdoors, to enjoy, breathe in nature, to let nature get into our body, get into our soul, our spirit, and influence us from the beautiful creation. The Creator has done an amazing job making beauty apparent as long as we open our eyes to see it. So Joe, thank you for this enlightenment. Happy Springs.